How's everybody doing? Should be if you see your name when you open Finder. Oh. You're welcome to sign it if you want. It doesn't go anywhere. So, good topics.
Yeah.
Open that. Yeah, VS Code. Have we got it? Yeah? Okay. Before we start, I should probably go to the icebreaker generator. Do you prefer big dogs or small dogs? Which superpower would you give to your arch enemy? That one seems like a good one. What superpower would you give to your arch enemy? So, what superpower? How are you doing? Where are you stuck? How have you been? It's been, what, like 2 weeks?
Yeah. I know.
So, who wants to start? Christian's not here.
Yeah.
And he's not online. So he can't start for us. Travis is going to start.
Okay, so, what superpower would I give my arch enemy?
Those are the old ones. They don't have string on them anymore.
No, okay. Band-Aid.
Oh.
Band-Aid inside. The new nerd glass with the Band-Aid inside. So, superpower to my arch enemy, it would be, I mean, the obvious choice. Empathy. The power of empathy. And how am I doing? Times 10 better. You guys got sick and I got better.
Nice. You're welcome.
Appreciate it. And you know, because it's funny because, I just say it like this, I just needed some me time. You know, everything was in motion, which is the way it's supposed to be, and not very so much in motion, but the fact that we had to take a stop for a second allowed me just to collect my thoughts. And I'm now nowhere, I'm behind, but at least I'm to a point where I know what I'm doing. I know how to pull up a foul. I can do that. I can pull up a foul. So that's what I'm doing there. Step-wise, not really. There's things that make me stop. There's things that take a little bit of concentration.
We miss you.
Kobe Christian.
We can't hear you. Hold on. Now try.
I said I miss you too. Also, there's like 4 of them fading into me.
I know. It's amazing. Everybody keeps waving at the TV.
Oh, yeah. I know.
I heard Travis.
We can't see us when we're waving at you.
What?
I appreciate the one. Travis was sharing. What was he talking about?
Yes.
Oh,
Travis is sharing.
Yeah.
He said he would give his arch enemy the superpower of becoming an empath.
Why?
Then that would just pretty much destroy his
Then he could destroy him easily.
anger. His anger, the thing that stirs on his wanting to destroy me or anybody else.
Well, let's see if
Oh,
I can.
empathy. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Travis. So, Well, that's when he was here. Oh, I'm so sorry, Travis. Give me a hug. So that.
Would you imagine doing this before?
I don't know. Who would I imagine? Who's my arch enemy?
Yeah.
Maybell? No, nobody. I don't have one. I honestly, I don't have one. And so the last thing we talked about was, and like I told them, is that the breakaway has actually given me an opportunity to really hone in on some stuff that I was, that I wasn't able to do, because of my schedule and because, in class we work on a lot of things. So it was just 2 weeks of just learning the basics, learning the basics. So I know how to get into something. I know how to lay things out, and I'm, learning terminology. So, and that's it. That's pretty much in a nutshell what's been going on. Catching up, I was way behind on my projects. I was still working on the stuff for what is that? Three stages. 2 weeks ago I was still there. I wasn't even doing the Java, the Java 30. So or GS 30. So the fact that I'm able to knock all those out and almost finish the second sprint, makes me feel really good.
Sweet. Blocked anywhere?
No blockage, just stop and goes. It's a mild thing. It's like I know resources to be able to figure out those answers, including you and my cell phone. I have a direct line to you, so whenever I have and a lot of times as I'm typing it out, I figure it out. Like, oh yeah. That happens a lot. So that's a good thing, that I'm able to troubleshoot my own problems just with an extra thought. It's funny because as soon as I type it out, that's when I figure it out.
That's why we have the rubber duck channel.
The rubber duck channel. See, God, you can tap into my ducky a little bit more. Tap into my ducky.
All right, who's next?
I'll go next. My superpower I give to my arching, I guess, is invisibility, so we're not
Maybe. I like that. I don't have to see that.
She's tough to look at.
Yeah, she's tough to look at.
And I guess I'm feeling good. I'm feeling okay. I'm progressing in this sprint faster than I did last time. To stay ahead of it, anyway. Blocks, I had that one. Accordion with JavaScript. I thought it was the JavaScript that was wrong, but come to find out, I kept looking at it. I was just joking because I couldn't figure it out. And it wasn't even a JavaScript. It was my HTML.
Oh, the base, huh?
Yeah, so thanks to AJ, it's correct now, so good.
Nice. And then you saw my other comment, yeah. And I sent you a direct message as well about the project, the FAQ project.
Did I see it?
Yeah. When you see it, let me know if you have questions.
Okay,
Okay. Any blockers?
just that one. I kept looking at the wrong thing. If I
Yeah.
just said, switch the screen over to a different file, then I probably could have seen it. That was my one. At this point, that was my only one.
Who's next?
I guess I'll go next if you're going around. I will give my arch enemy invisible hands because I'm a fan of enemies to lovers tropes. I'm doing great. I am still struggling with the accordion, but I'm still progressing through sprint 3. I'm about halfway through sprint 3. And I plan to go back to the accordion. I guess I got scared away for a little bit, but I will go back. I found a good video. Actually, Sharice found it for me, and yeah, pretty much it. We had a lot of fun at Pololula.
Nice.
Really good.
Awesome. Any blockers?
Just the FAQ. I haven't come across any in Sprint 3 yet.
I would, since we were talking to Evangeline Lilly, I've watched Ant-Man and the Wasp thing.
Did she come over to?
Yeah.
She was talking to Rich for like an hour.
Yeah, so first thing I thought of is I would make my arch enemy tiny and they can't do anything about it. And I'm feeling okay, pretty okay. I keep scratching things and throwing it away for the FAQ. I keep having problems, I guess, not zooming out and getting tangled in other things. So that's been a blocker. And when I do look at the videos, I want to make sure that I like get it before I put it in there. So that's also what's taking a little while. And layout, I'm upset with myself of why I can't, at this point, why I'm having issues. But I'm trying to be gentle with myself so I can actually get things done. I did start the Sprint 3. I did remember I turned in something last night. I was on one last night, so I tried to stay. I tried to get as much done as I could. Stayed up to midnight because I felt like I was in a good flow. But yeah, so I'm hoping to spend more time on the projects this time. I kind of let that fall to the wayside while I did the exercises. I don't know why I did that mentally, but I did, and I don't want to do that again. So yeah, I'm feeling better for this next sprint. So hopefully put some more work in today and whenever I feel in that full state, so I can absorb what I'm doing.
Cool. Any blockers?
Just the layout of the FAQ. But other than that, I'm feeling okay.
Okay. Cool. So, do you want to go over FAQ stuff today then?
That would be awesome.
Okay. Alright. Christian, you're up.
I was trying to pick different points in the room. You're like, alright, that first thing we do.
We'll just do this for a
Yeah.
little while.
It's great.
The blocker right away. I think that's a real edit. So, I don't know. I'm going to put my rest out today, tomorrow, and hopefully I'll feel better and be able to jump on a lot of work then. But feeling good about the sprint, doesn't seem to be too bad. Oh, and the worst enemy thing. You know those like genies that don't like grant your wish well? They're like always available.
Like every genie.
I would give someone like infinite wishes like that. And that way, I don't know, maybe they'll come out a little better person.
So the city
Or they'll have a terrible time. Either way.
Awesome. How are you feeling?
I'm okay, a little tired, but I made a point to like not watch anything at one point today. Like I was watching TV all day and stuff, trying to veg. And then I like took an hour and I just like stretched out. I have a bouncy ball as a chair instead of a seat. So I just like laid on top of it and was like being all weird and stuff. That was kind of nice to move, you know.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Let's see. Type pin Christian. Is it pinned? But it's not pinned for you, right? You just see yourself. Perfect. All right. So I'll move this over here. All right. So I haven't even built the FAQ project at all.
Okay.
So we could work on that. I also would like to go over this form that I had you download. Christian, in the resources channel, there's a zip file. Download it and put it wherever your code is and then open it up. So we'll start with the FAQ and do that for like an hour.
Okay.
Does that work? Where's everybody stuck at?
I'm
I haven't-
CSS.
Yeah.
I'm not CSS.
I'm putting my CSS in right now.
Okay, so I will just start from the beginning then.
Great. Catch up and pass it way back.
So anytime I would start a project like this, I would start mobile first,
Oh, okay.
and I would build the mobile one, and then I would expand and build the desktop. So, and these should be one project, so all the code should be in one place for both of them.
Can you explain that part to later on? When you do
Yes.
the app review?
So yeah, I'll do the mobile first, and then I'll try and see how much of the desktop I can get done.
Can you show me how to take that new form validation zip file from downloads and put it in code? I put it in code, but it's still zip. So how can I unzip it in this form? Is that okay?
Well, you gotta unzip it before you try and open it. in code.
Okay. So how do I unzip?
So hit cancel,
Okay.
and then where's your Finder? Go to Finder, 'cause you don't want to work on it out of downloads. So is this it right here?
Yeah.
The form validator right there.
There it is, yeah.
Double click it. Just one finger.
Okay.
Double.
Double.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now
Oh, now it's right.
now if you
Yeah.
open that, yeah. All right, so let's see if I have that one in here.
It's always 3 fingers, 2 fingers, 1 finger.
Okay, so this is what they gave us then, yeah?
Yep.
Oh. Okay, so what I would do first is I would have div.accordion. Everybody has the HTML done, yeah? So I would do accordions, and then I would do accordion that, and then I would do is that how you spell accordions? It is, right?
Yeah.
It's I-O-N. I always spell it wrong when I do accordion stuff.
I did for half of the project.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, so this is what I would do. Actually, I'm gonna copy this. How many questions are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Do that first, yeah.
Okay, have that one already.
So we just did it like that, and do that first.
So let's see. This one up here. It's nice of them to give us all this text. Big text blocks here. So, and I don't know if you noticed on this sprint, I'm not giving you a Figma. You just have to do it from the files you downloaded. But I'm going to show you a trick today, like something you can do to figure out the sizing on things. At least for the form one, I've done a little bit of it for you. That's what you downloaded just now. But yeah, on the other piece, on the other one, I haven't done any of it. So, all right, so let's see. Why can't I get it to zoom in and out? Okay. So inside of accordions, I'm also going to add this title to that. So that's, well, I'm going to do accordions inside of a card maybe. So I'll do div.card. Is the they don't have the attribution in the design. Yeah, I'm just going to take it out then so I don't have to deal with it. Okay, and then I'm going to do h1 class equals card title FAQ, and I think that's it. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this style, and then I'm going to look at the design really quick because of the style guide, that's what I want. So I need this font, and I need 400 and 700. I'm going to do this one. Okay. I'm going to create in this folder a styles and a that did put outside. Script. You don't have to do it exactly like this. This is just what I find makes it easy for me to,
Put them all separately.
yeah. So then I'll do an import from theme first. And then I'm going to import the page next. And then I'm going to import the accordion next. And I'm going to also do card CSS here. All right. Theme, I'm going to put that. So I did the import. When you're here, you can do a link or an import. So I did the import. I just didn't bring the style tags because this import they want you to do. They give you for the CSS or for in your HTML file. But you can do imports in CSS instead. So I just grabbed all of it with the style tags. Okay. And then in page, well, let's see. Theme, I'm gonna do some variables like we've done in the past. Okay. So I'm gonna say font family. I'm gonna give it the font family attribute there. And then I'm gonna look at the style guide again. I'm going to pull over this side. font size is 12. Just so that I don't have to sit and reference the style guide over and over, I'll put it in variables here instead. Okay, so and I'll say mobile size, mobile width, 375 pixels, desktop width, 1440 pixels. I don't know that I'll even use this one. I'm going to add a tablet width as well and put that around 500 pixels because that's where I feel like it's going to probably shift. So I'll play around with that one.
Width is misspelled.
What?
Width is misspelled.
Oh, thank you. All right.
You can't see I'm doing a thumbs up.
I should pin it to the front, but I can't. I wonder if I can now that I moved into pinned. Used to be able to.
It's okay. You don't have to watch me. Just eating.
All right. Let's see. I'm just gonna copy these in. I forgot it gives you all these dumb colors. Very dark desaturated blue. Is there like a dark blue already?
Yeah.
Dark grayish blue, gray, very dark, light. So there's not just a normal dark blue. Alright, that should be all the colors. They're all in that dumb HSL thing that we all hate. All of us hate it, right? Alright, so I'm going to change this to just dark blue. Soft red, or I guess we could just call that red. Same with violet. How about blue? Okay, we got very dark grayish blue and dark grayish blue. If it's very dark, we'll have it, the very dark be dark grayish blue, and we'll have the lighter dark grayish blue be just grayish blue. And then we'll have the light grayish blue be light grayish blue. Okay. So that gives us all of the styles from the style guide. Got the font size, body copy. Okay, close that one. And then I'm going to move over to my page CSS. And I'm going to steal my page CSS from the one that I built today. So I don't have to remember to type it all. So just setting border box on the box sizing so that I don't have to worry about the sizing when I use anything inside the border box. Font size to 62.5%, so I can, so it's at base 10. I already had this font family and font size set up. Font weight, I'm going to set to 400 instead of 500. And then the background is going to be different than this. So I guess I'll have to open that dumb style guide again. What's that one? So the background is going to be text background gradient, soft violet to soft blue. But I think I just changed it to violet and blue, right? What did I call those? Violet and blue. Okay. So in the page, we're going to say linear gradient from var violet to var blue. I think we can just do that, right? Let's go look at it. What do you think? Oh yeah. First we have to go to our HTML and add in the style. The link CSS, and that's in style, not style guide, and index. Yay. So we say height 100 view heights, and let's just do 100% view heights, and then do a no repeat. Okay. So going back to the page CSS and add that in. No repeat. Height. Another view heights. Put that there. Put that there. What is this? Okay. So page is all set up. You with us? All right. Is this guy? All right. I'm closing page CSS. Also, I'm recording this,
Oh, good.
so hopefully the recording is working.
Yeah. Hopefully.
It says it is. We'll open it and make sure. Okay. It can hear me. It can see me. It can see my screen. We're good. All right, so I'm going to close page CSS. I'm going to leave theme CSS open just so I can look at it whenever I want. All right, so card CSS. In here we're going to do card, and we're going to say, let's see. I got to look at the all right, so the card has 25 pixel border radius. It's white and a drop shadow. I guess if I go to inspect, it'll show me the drop shadow, right? 25, 10. Oh, here we go. Alright, so I'm going to take this stuff, but I'm not going to take these position things. So don't take the position stuff out of Figma. That'll mess you up.
Yes.
Okay, but I am just going to copy these because that is exactly what I will write. I don't like the order, so I'm going to change the order because I'm OCD. Okay, but that should give us, what's this? Okay. Kind of. Okay, now if I go back here, looks like I have 25 pixels on each side, and then 48.5 there, and this is 140 pixels down. So I'm going to say padding is 140 pixels, 25 pixels, and 50 pixels. Okay. Also gonna there and not there. Let's start this on a okay. And then I'm going to throw this in as just a background image maybe. And I'll show you how I'm going to do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do position relative on the card. And then I'm going to say card before, content, nothing. Okay, have we ever done this before? Yes. Alright, so background image is going to be a URL, and it's going to be probably / images, background pattern, icon arrow down, illustration box. Alright, mobile, laptop lady. I'll make this bigger. Okay. It's going to be position, absolute. I'm going to say z-index 1. And then let's save it right there and look at how it looks. It doesn't work. So I'm going to go inspect it and see why it doesn't look like anything. I wonder if it's because it did two. Here's the before. So when you're inspecting, you can see this before piece. Okay. Shouldn't matter if we do 2 or 1. And you can see I've got a position absolute, background image, looks like the right thing. Z-index 1. Let's set it to 2, 3, 4. Okay. That doesn't work. So, oh, needs a height and width. So what is the size of this image? 198 by 150. So I'm going to say height is 198. Width is 150 pixels. I may have gotten those backwards. 198. There we go. I'm going to change this from background image just so at the end I can put no repeat. Okay, so background, and then added the no repeat at the end of it. Okay, so now you should have this, right? So if I look at the card, I should have that guy right there, and then this is how I would do positioning of it. I would come into my inspector and I would just mess around with the sizing here, or the positioning. So it's a top, negative 100 pixels. Okay, that's too high. Okay, first I'm going to put a on here, I'm going to do a margin top of 40 pixels, I think is what it had from the top of the body. Oh, actually, that was from the top of that image. Let's go from here. 148. So margin top, 148 pixels. Okay, so now do that again. Okay, so this is what makes it over the top. So it's, you have your X and Y radius, and then your Z is the 3D. So we'll just say top 0 for now. Left, I'm going to say calc. Width was 198 pixels, or 198 divided by 2 pixels. What? Come on. Let me do it here. Left calc 198 divided by 2 pixels. Maybe if I do this. There we go. Okay, so that should put it in the middle. No, because it's position absolute, so center wouldn't do anything. So I'll just say top 0 for now. And then it's centered there, but we need it to go up quite a bit so that it's like 40 pixels from the top here. So refresh, and change this from 0 to so it looks like the curve here is right on the line there, right? So that's about what mine looks like. What happens if I make this wider? Nothing at all. If I make it taller. How is it? What size is it in this? 236 by 179. Grab those instead. I'll get rid of the weird, make it more round. Move these up here. Okay. And now it's off for some reason. Did I do the wrong number? No. 235 left, 235 divided by 2. Oh, you know what? Let's do it based on the card instead, not the width of the. No, it should be based on the card. Let's see.
I'll reach out back and move these.
To about 100 view widths divided by 2, and then can I do this? Minus 235 divided by 2. Yeah. Okay, so we moved it to middle. I guess we could also do 50% instead of doing the 100 view widths divided by 2, and then figure out the half of whatever the width is. So you could also just figure this out and put the number in if you wanted to. But no, you can't, because you want it to always be in the middle of whatever size. So as we scale this up, it should stay in the center always. Okay. So now taking it from the top, go up to about right there. So we'll say 105. So minus 105 pixels. And then card, we're also going to throw a margin on the sides of 24, 85 off the bottom. 24 pixels, 85 pixels. And then, is there a shadow on this? They give us a shadow image? They did? Oh, the pattern thing? Okay, so I'm going to do a similar thing, okay? So each element has a before and an after. I'm going to use after to do the shadow. Okay, which means I'm going to change my z-index on the before to a 2, and after I'm going to have a z-index of 1. So position, absolute. Just copy this down. 1, this is going to be, it was pattern, right? BG pattern mobile. Okay, and then I'm going to go look at the design and see how big that thing is. 240 by 104. Left in 40, and then the top, the same spot for now. Let's see where it's at. Okay, so now if you look at my card, it's got this after here. Okay, and I can do a similar thing in the card where I can now see the after element. Okay, so how far kind of has a little bit of a greater than sign there. So do it to the so 0. Looks like 0 would be fine. Okay. And then we're going to do card title. Font weight 700. Font 3.2 then. Change transform uppercase to make sure it's always all caps. Text align center. You can do that on this since it's a block element, takes up the whole space, and it's not pulled out of the. So whenever you're absolutely positioned, you pull that element completely out of the flow of the page. That's why you can't just say align at center or so once we have it positioned absolutely. So FAQs there. Let's make sure. There to the top was 140. I think we have a little bit extra because there's a margin on it. So let's take margin 0. Okay. And then should have a little bit of a margin on the bottom, so we're going to say 0, 0, 40 pixels. Our card had a bigger margin on the bottom. Okay. So now we need to style all of our accordion stuff. Right? Y'all with me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Okay. I'm going to close the card. I'll show it in the video one more time. Okay. Card close. Index close. Style guide close. Okay, so now we're accordion. I'm going to set accordions. Width 100%. Actually, don't even need to do that. So I'm going to get rid of it. I don't think I have to do anything on accordions. So each accordion should have a divider in it. And the divider is going to be this guy right here. So what I'm going to do for this divider is just set a bottom border on the accordion that is this color. I'm going to say border bottom 1 pixel solid, and then what color is that E7? It's like a light gray. Okay. Change these to HSL and go look at our theme.
Is it recording or question and answer?
Yes. Do you want to look at this HTML real quick? Okay. So what I did a group of accordions, and then each accordion holds the title and the content. So which has the question and the answer.
Oh, the title is the question.
Yeah, so this is the question, this is the answer. I just didn't call it question and answer because I'm used to accordions not always being questions. So usually there's a title and a content, and you click the title and the content shows up. Okay? So what we're going to do is the recording's going to have that bottom that bottom border, And the color was this grayish blue color. Okay. So I've got it now. I'm going to add accordion title and accordion content. Say so the content is that 240 HSLA. Oh, okay. It's that same color. 240, 550, 650. There it is. So this is color bar blue. And it should be, the font size was 12 across, right? Okay. And this one is, it says 13, but it's 12. So font weight is 700. Colors 1D. Colors that way. Oh, 238, 29. Is it that one? Dark blue. And then I'm going to do this little chevron right here on the accordion title. Let me think. Yeah. So we're going to do position relative, position okay. Right is going to be 0. I'll do that for right now. And then background image, or actually we'll just do background so we can do the no repeat. URL, images, icon arrow down, no repeat. And then what's the size? It is 10 by 7. Okay. We want it to be in the middle, so I'm going to say top 50%. I'm going to do calc again, calc 50% minus height, so we'll do 7 divided by 2. Okay, and so that puts it, you can see in my title right there, that it's right in the middle. Okay, and then margin bottom on the title. That's 15, 9, 17. Okay, so we'll say on these accordions, we're going to put a padding of 15 pixels and 0 left to right. Alright. That divider looks too dark. Change to that and see what it looks like with that. Looks better. What's this? $244.91. Okay, so it should have been this light grayish blue. And then line height 18. So I'm gonna, on the content, add a line height. 18 pixels. Actually, I'm gonna do a rem. 1.8. Okay. And then those are all styles, so we can say display, none. And cool. And we're done.
With mobile,
Well, we also have to make it so it works. Because we need an open class too. So we're going to do at the bottom underneath these so that I can override some of this. We're going to have accordion, and I'm going to plan to put the open on just straight on the accordion itself. Okay, and then each of these will just get the style from the title being open rather than adding classes to each thing. Okay, so when that happens, accordion content should be display block. Okay, accordion title should have a margin bottom of 9 pixels, I think. We'll double check this in a second. And then we need the before. To have transform, rotate 90 degrees. See if that works or not. It's the left, or do the middle one too. Other side, the top. Better? It's open. That's too much. Too much. Alright, so 90 degrees is wrong. 180, I think, is what it should have been. Okay, so this is what it will look like when it's open, and it gets that accordion open class for that one. Okay. And what is happening there? How come the card's not actually taking my... Refresh. So back in the page CSS, I'm going to change this to 100% instead of view heights. And still didn't work though, even though it should have. Oh, okay, it did work. All right. So, now we'll scale up. Yes? We'll take off this. That looks okay there. Did I miss any pictures? Feels like I had another. The box is supposed to be, it's only the desktop one though, right? This one comes with it. You have two what? Oh. The mobile one already comes with the box. Yeah, because this is the mobile image, and this is the desktop image is missing the box. I don't know why. It's dumb.
They want it to be complicated.
Right.
Well, why don't we just reuse that? It's the same image.
Right.
And it's an SVG, so it should scale fine. Alright, I might just reuse the same image. We'll see. Alright, so I am going to scale just a little bit bigger. I'm going to use this to do it. So just flip it this way. Okay, so now I'm going to go like 700. We'll go responsive. 700. And I'm going to put tablet size. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with like 700 as the, or maybe even 650 as the break here. Let's see if we do 650. Okay. So in our CSS, I don't think we'll have to do anything to page. I'm just going to go to card. And we'll look at almost feel like we gotta go wider. So how wide is this thing? It's 920 pixels. So I'd say we need to get to like about 920 just to even have it look like this. Otherwise it would be too scrunched. So kind of stay this way for a little bit, and then let's look like at 800. Wasn't there an iPad that was 800? So I'd probably maybe even keep it there. Or if we make this image a little bit bigger, maybe around like that looks fine. Yeah, somewhere around here is when it starts to look kind of funky. So what I'm going to do is at 650, I'm going to bump the padding here up. So they only give us 2 designs. But what I typically do is as it looks weird, I'll change it. So, and then if the designer is upset with what I did, then they will tell me. But typically I just kind of look at it and say, it looks funky in that, so I'm going to change some padding or whatever. So first off, on the card, we have this margin of 24 pixels on the sides. I'm going to bump that up once we get to 650. So I'm going to say at media, and then I'm going to say min width is 650 pixels. Say card, and margin. I'm going to leave the top and bottom the same. So I'm just going to copy this guy. And I'm going to bump this up to 50 and see what it looks like. Maybe even 60. Okay. That makes it look a little bit nicer there. I'm going to say card before, width, oops. I'm going to grab all of these ones. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So this is that top image of the lady. And I'm going to say something. Can I do a variable here? Like 325. $245. Nope, can't do that.
Does that variable just stay within that class?
It didn't work. I was hoping it would, but variables are pretty new, so I still they're still newish. So we could define it elsewhere. Maybe. I don't think. Let's just make sure. It seems like it worked there. I wonder if it just wouldn't work in that calc for some reason. Make this a-
Maybe an extra parenthesis or something.
Maybe. That may have worked that time. Ooh. And then let's see what happens if I change up here to have. Yeah, looks like it stays within whatever. So that way if I change it in one spot, I don't have to change it in two. Pixels. Okay, and we'll need to do this down here. Hard after. Move the top on that. And 45. And
Are you coding for the desktop?
what?
Are you coding for desktop?
No, not yet.
Oh, how does this in PDF?
So this is, once you get to 650, it looked a little weird. So we're just changing the size of this. So,
Okay. Thanks.
uh-huh. I'm also going to increase this to like 180 and see what that looks like. Just give it some space here. Just need to figure out the after. Top needs to be. I need to change the height or the width in here. What happened? Those aren't working. Oh, okay, these ones are fine. We just need to set them. So we'll have to guess on image width. Say what? Ah, thank you. That's weird. See, it was a little bit bigger width-wise. 50. And height-wise, it's smaller. That one doesn't seem to want to work for us. Oh. No, shouldn't have to do anything else. I'll just leave it like that for now. It'll look like it's higher. But I can't get it to stretch how it's supposed to. The other thing is, these look really small. So we could change the sizing of that, but I'm not gonna spend too much time on that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get it out to the we'll say at 940 is where I'll actually switch it. So I'm going to pull it bigger than 940, but I'm going to switch it at 940. Okay. And what we're going to do is the card should be fine. It should just sit in the middle. I'm going to say its max width is 940, I think, 920. So I'm going to put that up here on the normal card. It doesn't need to be in a media query. We can just say max width is 940 pixels, or is it 920? 920 pixels. Okay. And then width right now. Let's see if I make this bigger. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we will need to change our margin when we get to that size. So I guess I'll create a media query for that. Yeah, we'll leave it there, and then we'll still create the media query. So at the bottom, we're gonna create another media query. Okay, and we're creating a new one so that anything within it says at 920 pixels, min width, margin. I'm actually going to switch it to, so 920, and then it was like 60 pixels on each side, right? So we'll say at, what does it start to? So 1020. So I'm going to switch this to 1020. The margin is going to be whatever the margin was, 180 and 85. We'll probably come back and fix this later. But the 60 is now going to be, oh, and we also need the card. This is going to be auto. And is it? Okay, it's going to be auto all around. I don't think this will work. Nope. Sure. Okay, that'll be fine because we're going to move this. Alright, so normally I would move this into the page so that this media query sits in the page, but I'll just leave it there for now. But I'm switching body to display flex when it's on, when it's at least 1020 pixels. Okay. So if I head back to this responsive view, you can see it pops right there. Okay. And then when we get a little farther out, so it pops down and centers itself. Okay. And now we just need to move all of this stuff too. Okay, so this will move with the card, but I'm going to move the accordion first, just so that we're not putting this over the top of the accordion for now. So I'm going to open up the accordion CSS, and at the bottom of it, I'm going to create a new media query. Okay, and we're going to say min width. 1020 pixels. Okay, and we could put this in a variable as well in the theme, so we don't have to keep remembering it's 1020. And we're going to say accordions, and we're going to put the accordions to the right. Say put 110. Now let's see. Now I'm just going to say max width. And go like 40%. Put it No. Yeah, we could do columns. I have to change the card. So in card we could do display flex, and then we could do flex direction column, and then justify content flex end. Maybe it's line items because I flipped it. Line items. Flex end. Okay. Then I get like a weird. Is that because I set a max width? Let's say 50%. Well, width 50%. 40%. Okay. So padding on the card. So 110, 73.99. I want to probably do a percentage since this is a percentage. Let's say 10% padding on the sides. Top and bottom. %, or 75 pixels, 10%, and let's say I'm just gonna go 20 pixels on that one. Okay. And I'm gonna move this one. So is there a reason to use this other illustration? Oh, because this is the shadow for that other one, huh? Okay, so Oh, that should be after. Okay, let's look at the size here. 472 by 359. Oh. And then say overflow. Midway down through the box. Oh, hey.
Hey, my code doesn't look exactly like yours, but when I try to change the display size, the image will slide off of the screen off to the left.
Uh-huh.
Should I do like a compilation type deal?
You can.
Or is it just that like, it's easy?
It'll slide off to the left. Probably just depends on how you're you're positioning it.
I have a position absolute, I believe. Double check.
Alright, so now I need to figure out why I can't see the after. Size maybe? Let's look at how big these are supposed to be. Desktop says it's stupid.
Looks like I have a position relative in the card
Mm-hmm.
itself. And I don't think I have any position as far as the image goes.
Okay.
So I think I should put
So this would be position or relative, and then this would be position absolute,
yeah.
and then
Oh, I don't have that as position absolute.
and then you could move it that way.
Okay.
Something's funky about these two. They're too big almost.
Oh, and I have the position absolute, it just made my words spread out.
Made what spread out?
The words, like the other,
Oh, yeah.
the card.
So your words will, so if these are two different, if you have these as like children of card,
Yeah.
and you make this position absolute, then it's going to take it out of the flow. Because you had it relative then?
Yeah.
Yeah, so relative keeps it in the flow, so it assumes that it's supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So then, yeah, so you could leave it relative and then move it over, and it might change positions a little bit. It shouldn't move too much if you have like a max width on this card.
Yeah, the image itself moves like almost to the desktop before it pops up to the mobile. Like the image is desktop itself.
Okay.
And then it pops up to the mobile after it moves on.
Oh, look, there it is. Slowly appearing. It's maybe like giant.
Where's the drum roll when needed?
What?
Where's the drum roll when needed?
Right? Oh crap. Really, it should just need to be. So if I said this was 1,000 or 100 pixels and this one was 100 pixels, you should still be able to see it. Oh. And top is 0. How come I can't see any of that image? So for this, it might be better to have these be an actual image component or an actual image element rather than doing the before and after. Because I don't think I can make this image less than the 966 by 945 is what it wants. So let's say height. It's huge. So we may have to refactor that. Just move it to 500 off. So 20%. Oh, it's just like it, right? Perfect. All right. So the other option would, rather than do them as background images like this, you would do it as an image element, right? And then just position it similarly. You can do position absolute, you can do position relative, but kind of like what we did with the bus, and then throw the overflow. If you did it as an image too, it'd make it easier to do that box. I forgot we had to do the stupid box that sits over here. Okay. So I would almost, rather than like trying to get this to go over and cut off and have to do overflow hidden, I would instead just go into Figma and export it as is and use it that way. So,
So I got a question. I just need to move my images back into the image folder.
just drag them.
Yeah, I thought I could just do that.
Yeah. Just drop it in.
Oh, that's right, 'cause before I did my file, I did my folder.
All right, so and then each accordion on this seems like it's a little bit smaller. It looks the same, but when we get it in this one, it looks a little bit weird. So maybe the height on this is weird. Card is 524. And this card is 509, so our card is taller. When did I add a 15 pixel? Alright, so in the accordion, title needs to have no padding. And the content needs to have no padding. Margin. So it's not padding, it was margin that was messing us up. So this should just have the padding on it. We can say the card needs to be min height, .500 pixels. Alright, that looks more like what it's supposed to. Okay, with the exception of the image. But that gives you an idea of how to change your CSS. So do it for one, and then just change what CSS you need to for the others. You don't need to rewrite CSS that you're still using that's up here. You just kind of change it and update what it needs to look like. So I switch back to iPhone. Still looks good there. And then turn off here. It's okay there. Okay. So really big, this broke. So you just have to play with when you look at different sizes, add a new media query and fix it. Okay. And then JavaScript, or you guys know the JavaScript, we'll go down JavaScript.
I haven't started that. I'm good.
Okay, I'm going to leave it here, and then if we need help with the JavaScript on Thursday, then we can do the JavaScript on Thursday. All right.
How do I move on? This folder?
So
Is that?
up here on the open editors, just click this X right there, so it closes them. and then you'll have more room. So close your images, and then grab it and drag it down here. Yeah, just let go. There we go. All right. So let's shift gears then. Do you want to take a quick break? Who needs to use the restroom, to drink, stand up, stretch? How you doing over there, Christian?
I feel very crappy all of a sudden. Well, I'm good. I'm laying in bed.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Itchy?
Go in your ear. You can go inside of your ear and scratch your brain. So you guys have your shirts already?
What size did you get?
I think I got extra small for the dinosaurs. Extra small for dinosaurs. Oh,
You want to trade me?
yeah, actually, I think that is mine. This is, yeah, I think this is my glass.
She's like, we
Oh,
want
She's like, I'll never wear this.
Bro. You would have just been lost in your shirt. You gave him the extra large, I made the large. So I was like, what? Baby dinosaur.
They were goal shirts.
One size fits all.
I needed to get bigger. I needed to get smaller. Yes. Christian, you already saw him, right? You were there.
Yeah, I got one too. Mine's all red.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I bet you guys' shirt was all red, but it wasn't that big.
red dirt, Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So everybody has this code.
Yep.
Open it up and get it running. Yes. I figured rather than spend time writing CSS, we would just do JavaScript. And then it worked out because we wrote CSS anyway. Okay. So in here, you should have an index.html file. Style folder with an index, page, theme, and form. Okay. Script that has an index.js and a form validation. I called it FormValidatorinator. Okay. This is the file we'll spend most of our time in today, formvalidation.js. And then there's some images as well. So if you look at Google Classroom, under classwork for Sprint 3, there is an intro component with sign up form. And if we go to front end mentors and look at what it looks like, ta-da! So it's very convenient. I've already done some of your CSS for you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the form validation. Okay, and we're going to do it in object-orientedness. So I'm going to make this big and this big, and I'm going to jump in the FormValidatorinator. Okay, so in here there are steps that we're going to use to create the validation class, and we're just going to follow along in here. I'm going to turn off the AC because I'm freezing. You're all welcome. Okay, so I figured you were cold. We could trade seats and you would be frozen. It's like my face and my ears, especially this side, because I keep looking this way. It's like just straight on my face. don't have any hair either, so.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
probably your head is about the same, so. There you go, the collarbone. The collarbone.
All right. So, what we're going to do is we're going to create a few public functions, 2 to be exact, and the rest will be private functions. Okay? Remember this from the day we did this? We learned how to do classes, kind of. Yes, the hashtags to make them private. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to accept a data object here, and the data object's going to have some selectors. So if we were to go look at our form HTML, which we will do right now, the HTML has classes of form input wrapper, form input, form error, okay? And then there in the CSS there's a few other ones. So there's form input with an error, I believe. Let's see how I did it. CSS here, go to the style, form CSS. Okay, so I've got form input wrapper, form input, and then form input underscore error. Okay, when there's an error in the validation, form error is where the error message goes, and then you have form button. Okay. What I don't have is I didn't make it so that the form button shows that it's disabled. So we could say form button disabled, like that, which is a state that it can have. And we could say background color bar. I don't know if there was like a there was like a light gray, I think, theme. We'll say just grayish blue. Yes. Oops. So that's at the bottom of the form CSS. So I'm just going to take this off just to see what it looks like. Oh, should also do a box shadow and change that to grayish blue as well. And the border. Yes, sorry, I just took the disabled off so I could see it. I'll put the disabled back on in just a second. I'm just gonna make them all grayish blue, so that that's what it will look like when it's disabled. So now I put disabled back on. Go back to the green. Okay. And that's all the CSS I want to do. Okay. So those classes that we were just looking at, though, we're going to use those within our FormValidator. So first we're going to expect to get, I'm going to say an object of the selectors. So I'm just going to call it selectors. We're going to expect selectors to be an object of selectors, and the first one will be the so we'll say this dot input selector equals selectors dot, I'm just going to add some space here, selectors dot input. Okay, I'll say this dot button selector equals selectors dot button, this dot error selector, actually error message selector equals selectors dot error message. this dot input error selector equals selectors dot, oh, let's not do an error, that one. Input error class equals selectors dot input error. Okay, and I think that's all that we need. And then we also need the form itself. So we're going to say form. Okay, we're going to say this dot form element equals form. Let's see, maybe we'll do what?
Can you walk through what this will do?
Yes. I'm going to change that to form selector, and we're just going to select the form right here. Nope, I'm going to change it back to form. We'll let our other JS do it. Okay, so these will all expect just to be strings, which will be, most of them will be selectors. So these three will be selectors, which means it'll have the dot already, right? This one's going to be a class, which means it won't have the dot. So we will use these as we go through and do our validation to loop through all of the inputs by using this input selector, and then adding, and then we're going to add some event listeners to each input. Okay, the button selector is going to be used to get the button and add it also into the class to be disabled whenever the form is should not be submitted, when it can't be submitted. Okay. The error message selector will give us the ability to go get the error message. So underneath each of these inputs, there's a little error message span that you can't see right now. So we'll be able to select each of those. Okay, and and then we'll be able to. So we'll actually select it based on whatever input we're looking at. Okay, but they all have the same selector, so we'll use that selector when we're selecting the error message so that we can show it and then also put the message that we want to show inside of there. Okay, and then this input error class we will add to the input whenever it is invalid. So it makes it red and has red text. Okay, so right now we're just the constructor is what we pass that list of selectors to, so that object of selectors, and then this form will be the actual form element. So we'll already select the form in our other file and pass the form that we want validated and all of the classes and selectors. Okay, so if we look in the index.js, I've already got the selectors there for you. Let's make sure I named them the same in both places. Okay, so we have input, button, error message, and input error. Take off the dot on input error because it's not a selector, it's a class. Okay, I think those are all the ones we will need. Okay, and then the other thing we'll need to do is we'll need to get the form. Okay, so we'll say trial form equals document dot get element, or get, or what are we going to do, query selector, and we're going to get form, and rather than just get every form on the page, there should be index.html. There should be another class on it, form contact form. Okay, so we're going to get that contact form. What?
The word form.
Looks like from spelled wrong.
Yeah. For with the N at the end.
All right.
That's form, contact, what?
Form.
Form. Cool. Thank you.
It was redundant on accident and purpose, and mostly on accident. Okay. And then what we will do is we will call trial form validatorinator equals new form validatorinator, and we'll pass it our selectors and our trial form. Got it? Okay. So now if you run it, you should see no errors in your console, and it will do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay. So, but what we want to do is, let me show you in index.html, we need to do a couple of things, because right now, if I go to this form and I hit go, do you see how it refreshed the page and it changed the URL and it added all these things? So if I fill out this form, it'll actually fill out up here with what I filled it out with. Okay. We don't want it to do that. We want it to be submitted with JavaScript later on. Eventually, if we ever have a server to accept all of this, we don't want it to just change the URL, because we're not going to catch that. Okay, so we need to do two things. One is we need to prevent that. So we're going to prevent that in our JS. So if you open up the form validator, the first thing we're going to do is this first public function, which is our enable validation function. Okay, so we're going to say enable validation . Okay, and we're going to say this dot form element dot add event listener, and it's going to be submit, and we're going to get the submit event, and we're going to do event dot prevent default. Okay, and that's going to stop it from doing that submission to the browser itself. Yep, default is just to submit it to the URL you're on, and then depending on your backend server, sometimes they'll catch that and take all the pieces off of it. Okay, but our backend server won't do that, so because we don't have one. Okay, so once you have that in place, if you go back to your HTML or to your page and refresh, let's get rid of all that. Save it. If I now hit claim, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I haven't called this function. So go into index.js, and we need to say trial form validatorinator dot enable validation and call it. And then once you have called your enable validation function, it should stop the refreshing page. So you can see I'm clicking this as many times as I want. It's trying to translate the words on the button, but it's not submitting. Okay, it is submitting, it's just not submitting it to the browser anymore. Okay,
What is that error that says form validating not
do you have const here? So, see if that is the same as that spelling. Yes.
You see the last line, event,
What you're saying? So this bracket needs to be under the negative validation. Yep. So they're all inside the form, or the class name. And if you say yep. Sam, you got it? Go back to your index.js. Alright, so this is FormValidator. That one's fine. 'Cause that one's based off this. Is this your enable validator or enable validation? Wait. So, did you get rid of all the things at the end? Or not refresh, but it's not doing it right now. So you're good. Travis, you good?
Yeah, just later on, you go back and do the form, so let them say, that's all.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
My button's not picking up anything.
Your button is not picking up anything?
No.
Where are you? You're right here. What do you mean your button is not picking up anything?
So make sure screen.
Yes.
Show now.
Continue. You're presenting to everyone,
Cool.
but all I see is me.
Dang it. If I
No,
go like this, can you see now?
no. You just shared the window. You didn't share everything,
And I hit share screen.
but you just shared the window.
It won't focus in on the other, for some reason. I will try a different method. Thank you for your patience.
It's so funny watching that circle talk.
I know.
Look at that little Christian talk, that little circle,
He's a bigger,
little blue circle, it's like his heartbeat.
I feel like an entertainer. Share.
Yay!
Yay.
We did it. It's just,
Yes, that is correct.
That's what it's supposed to
okay,
That is exactly what it should do.
nothing?
It does nothing.
Sorry to waste your time, everyone.
Hey man, in a virtual world, brother. It's all
I will
good.
now take over the sharing. All right. Yeah, so if I fill it out, it should do nothing with what I filled out. But it does submit, see? Even my one password's like, hey, you had a password in there. I should save it for you.
Mhm.
So it does actually submit. We're just stopping the browser from doing what it usually did when we submitted. And that's because we would then catch that in a different place, but not in the validatorinator. This is just to validate. Okay. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we want to make it so that our form knows which fields are supposed to be validated. So we want to, in our inputs on the index HTML, we're going to add an attribute called required. Okay, so now my first name is required. Nothing else is required, just first name. So if I go back to my form and I click the button, then the browser is going to tell me, please fill out this field. This does not match the design that I am supposed to match. Okay, so I don't want it to do that. I do want it to not submit the form if I don't have it filled out. So if I go to my FormValidatorinator, I'm going to throw an alert in this function. You don't need to do this. I just want to show you submitted. Okay, I'm going to go back here, take off the required, fill it out, and I get submitted, and one password's like, hey. Okay, so now if I throw that required back in, and I don't fill it out, and I hit this, you'll see I get this, and I don't get the submitted alert anymore. Okay, one password still wants to save that password though. It's very needy. So, okay, so the submit doesn't actually run because that form filled. I'm going to get rid of the password so that I don't. Okay, once I throw that in there, then the submit would happen if I still had that in there. Okay, you can see it's no longer popping up. None of these are required. So once I go in and I add required to all of the inputs, okay, if I don't fill out first name, it'll tell me first name is required. Okay, so I fill that one out, and then I hit go, and it'll tell me last name is required. And it'll do that for each of them as I add that required. They all should be required, yes. I didn't add that in for you because I wanted to specifically talk about the required attribute. Okay, now I don't want my form or my browser to do this because each browser has its own validation thing, and we have designs right here. Yeah, this is what it should look like if they fill it out and they didn't fill out form fields. Then you can't fill out my form. Yeah. So the browser can do validation for you. okay? But we want it to look like this, not like that dumb thing, okay? And then also I will show you, if you open this in preview, which is what, if you have a JPEG and you just open it, preview is what will open it. You see how I have the crosshairs? I think this is the normal crosshair thing. But if I click and then move across, it will tell me the size of things. You see that on the bottom right hand corner?
Yeah, that's cool. Process like.
Yeah.
Oh.
See like a plus?
Oh, you're talking about the.
Little plus. So since you won't have a Figma for this, what you can do is you can zoom in here and you can go here and you can say, okay, so that's about 10, maybe 8 pixels, right? I think it ended up being 4 because text always has a little bit of space around it, line height. But like this one, you'd be able to just do this and say, okay, that's 12. I would never do 13. I'd round it to 12. Okay? But no matter how far you zoom in or out, it's going to stay the same amount of pixels. Okay? So you can zoom in and see this border looks like it's 2 pixels. I only did 1 pixel in the design, but in my thing, but it says it's 2. Okay, so fonts, I think it gives you the sizes. If not, you can kind of figure it out. That's probably 34 pixel font. Okay, so we're gonna try that this time. It doesn't have to be pixel perfect, just pretty close. Okay. Typically, you'll get Figmas from your designers. You won't have to do this kind of stuff, but I think it's good to kind of try and figure some of that out as well. Okay.
Can you go to the bottom of the regular, like, see the G, how it goes forward? Did you count that as part of it, or did you just start from the bottom?
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you count
I would just do it from wherever, from like that. So on the watching, I would probably do it based on the bottom of those letters and the top of the taller letters. But yeah, these are gonna fall out from underneath. Like anything that Y's are gonna do the same thing, and lowercase j probably as well, right? Would have that little. So, but yeah, like I said, if you get it in there and you're like, that looks too small or it looks too big, then change it up. But should be able to kind of get it somewhat close. And if you need help, let me know. And if this is absolutely terrible, then I can work on Figmas for them as well. Okay? But I did give you this for free. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, the other thing that we need to do in our HTML before we close our HTML forever is on the form, we're going to add an attribute, and it is no validate. Okay? And that means don't show us your validation messages because we don't want them. Does it mean that I can submit the form? Let's show you this. Alert. Submitted. Okay. Throw the no validate in there. Go. Wow, it does mean that. Okay. So now, even though those things say they're required, if I have that no validate, my form will just submit. Okay. So we're gonna catch it and not allow it to be submitted if they're not valid. Okay.
So does that just nullify the required aspects of it?
No, we want those required on there so that we know in our JavaScript which ones are required. So, and you'll see that in a second, because each of our inputs will be able to pull validity on them, and they only give us the actual validity back because we tell it it was required in our HTML. So we need this, and we need this so that our JavaScript can be in charge of it. But this is so that our JavaScript knows which fields we care about. Okay? Alright, so now closing index.html, going back to form validation, we're going to create a new function, and this one's going to be a private function. So we're on to, we finished number 1, we've finished number 2 almost, we're starting number 3, okay, where we're going to create a private function to set up event listeners for the inputs and the button. So anytime the event on input, we're going to check if the input's valid and toggle the button. Okay?
Should we keep that alert submitted?
No,
Oh,
I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so make sure that you're inside of the class still, but underneath enable validation, so you're not inside there. We're going to create a private function, and we're going to call it setup event listeners. Okay, and then back up and enable validation, we're going to call this dot hashtag setup event listeners. Okay, could we do all the stuff in this function up in this function? Yes, we could, but it'll start to get ugly, and then we'll hate ourselves for doing it. So we're going to do it here instead. In this spot, we're going to use our selectors that we were given to go select stuff. Okay, so we're going to say const input elements, and this is going to be multiple because we're going to select all the inputs within our form. Okay, and we're going to do this by saying array.from. Remember, because we want an array here, and in our selector, our query selector returns an HTML collection, not an array. So now we're going to say this dot form element dot query selector and then the selection we're going to use is this dot input selector. And really all of these should probably be private as well, but we'll leave them public for now, seeing as how they were passed into us anyway. Okay, so this gives us an array back of all of the queries, or all of the form elements, the inputs within our form. So this part's important. We didn't do document here. Okay, and then we're also going to do the same thing for our button. There's only one of them, so we just do this dot form element dot query selector, and then it's this dot button selector. And we're going to loop through all of our elements and add a event listener. Okay, so input elements dot for each input element is what we'll get back, and we're going to say input element dot add event listener. This is the event is input, so anytime there's input into the element there, then we're going to do two things. We're going to call a function that is, so I'm going to go back up here. Okay, so we're going to create a private function that checks if an input is valid. We're going to use element.validity.valid, okay? And then we're also going to use, call another private function in here that enables or disables the button, okay? So I'm going to create two more functions. One is check input validity. And the other one is going to be toggle button. Okay, so in here we're going to say this dot check input validity. We're going to pass it the current input element. And then we're also going to call the toggle button function. Collapse and collapse. Okay, so check input validity is going to take an element. Which is the input that's being used right then. Okay, and we're gonna for now we're gonna just console.log so we can see validity. Okay, and we're gonna look at this object we get back on validity. And we get this object back because we said it was required, okay? Or because we said it's required, it'll change what this object contains, or the state of it. Okay, so now if you run this, and we look in our console, uncut syntax error missing after argument list. What? Where? 33. 33. Alright, just don't need that. Okay. If you had a semicolon on line 33 at the end, then get rid of it. Why didn't it tell me in here? It told me in here.
What was that? You said it was one of those, yeah.
Yeah, but on line 33.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one.
And then this should end to, you need another bracket.
Which is that? Oh, right here?
Right where your cursor is, just add a bracket.
Okay. What do this?
No,
Bracket.
just a parenthesis, a closing parenthesis.
Okay.
The 0. Shift 0.
Oh, right there. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. All right.
Okay.
So now if I type in here, it should do things and it's not. Why is it not doing it? Add event listener, refresh. Let's make sure it's getting each of these inputs. Console.log. Input. Let's do this. Input element. Okay, so it's not even making it here. Why? Call this function. That's getting called. Setup's getting called. Okay, so we're getting an empty array here. So this dot form element is our form. Input selector is form input. Oh, this should be all.
No, see, intuition, good job. Good job. Seeing it, but not believing it.
And then we get them all. Okay. So now. So yeah, this should be all.
And that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
That's the only change. Okay, so now if I look at just this on line 33, it should be all. Query selector all.
When I have elements that are not, kind of dead.
Wait, is this on this form element?
Yeah, because we haven't done anything with it yet.
Oh, okay.
We will.
Oh, that's cool. So that's a good thing then. When you say do it, check input validity.
Wait, we are using that though. I'm calling it right here. Check input validity. So I think you have a spelling error there. Too many T's.
Too many T's. That's what it starts with a T. Like T.
Is the query selector all on the input elements or the button
Yes, the input.
elements?
That's it. That is no T's, you know.
All right, so now anytime you type, you're gonna see this console log, right? If you don't and you see something else, then something's wrong with your code. Okay, but we get all these handy dandy things. So this last thing I did, I deleted everything out of first name. So look, valid is false, value missing is true. Type mismatch doesn't matter in this because we didn't tell it to type. Okay. So these are all going to be false most of the time because we didn't give it a length or a min or a max or steps or ranges. Okay, so as we have different types of inputs, we'll get all sorts of different types of validation information. Okay. For now, though, the only thing we care about is valid. Is it valid? And if not, then why? Okay. So the other thing we want to look at here is validation message, I think, is the other thing that we get. Nope. Validation, I think I put a note up here of what it was. That's what I said. Okay, so it's, yeah, but the browser has it as message, so on the element. So it was blank because this was valid. But now that it's not valid, we get please fill out this field. Okay, so let's say in our index HTML, we do what all these people always do, and we say there's no such thing as a name that's less than 3 characters. So min equals 3. Okay, this makes me so mad.
Yeah, I know lots of people from other countries.
So then I say AJ.
Nope. You gotta put your
What did
full
it-
name.
Okay. So this says it's,
In this scenario, do just do AY, like J, Y.
I just do Alan. Should be min equals 3, but
This is first name only, right?
min length, I think is what it is, 3. Okay. Please lengthen this text to 3 characters or more. You are currently using 2 characters. No name is this short. So then we go finger.
Very
Now it's valid.
That's a good one.
Okay. So, but you can see we filled it out, so it didn't say please fill out this field. The message says that's too short, right? So what about email address? We didn't do anything special here, right? Okay. So if we go back into our form, our type here is set to text. Let's change it to email. Save it. And then if we go back to our browser here and we say AJ, then it says please include an @ in the email address. A is missing an @. Okay, so I'm going to say @. Please enter a part following A or @ AJ @ is incomplete. Test. Okay, so this is a valid email address according to the browser's validation. So obviously that's not true. We would, on a real form, want to have better validation than just does it have a string and a string with an @ in the middle. But this is good enough for the browser. Okay. But you can see all we had to do was tell it it's supposed to be an email address. We can also give it a regular expression to validate with, which we won't do this time. But that way we could say this is an email and the regular expression is that it has to have at least something before the @ something after the @ and some sort of dot whatever, right? So there's big long regular expressions to make sure you handle all of the valid email address scenarios. But we won't write one of those, we'll just leave it at what this is for now. Okay, so now if we go back to our form validation, let's get rid of those two console logs. And we're going to say if element.validity.valid then we're going to create a new function and we're going to call this one hashtag set input valid. How's that? Okay. And we're going to have another function called set input invalid. Okay, so if it's valid, then we'll call this dot set input valid and pass it the element. Else this dot set input invalid. Oh, this one should be valid. This one should be invalid and pass it the element. Okay, so both of these need the element. The other thing we want to do is, because both of these functions will use the error message now, we want to get the error message and pass it as well. So we're going to say const error message equals, and this is that error message element. So let's add element on there so we know. We're going to say element.parent. Is it just .parent? Let's see. So we're going to have this input. We want to get this and then select that. Okay. So let's see. We'll get back to parent element. How about sibling? Next sibling. query selector, and then we should be able to do form error, and that'll give us our span. Okay, so it's element.parent element dot query selector this dot error message selector. Okay, and we're going to pass that error message element into both of those. Okay, if it's valid, then we're going to say, let's see, how did I do this? Maybe look at the CSS really quick. Style/form. I think I did it based on the parent. Right? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. So that's what I was going to do. Okay. So in set input valid, we're going to say element.classList.remove this dot is error input error class. Okay. I think I do want to do this, but like set that direct. So in form CSS, let's add dot form error show and have display block. Okay, so down around line 50-ish. We should do the form error, and we're going to add this CSS to it in the form CSS. Form CSS. So, and then we're going to element.class, or actually error message element.classList.remove. And then we'll need that error class as well, so we're going to have to do a couple of things. At the top in your constructor, add this dot error message class. And we're going to say selectors dot error message class. Okay. And then in our index.js, add error message class to the object, and it should be form error show. That's in index.js. Okay, and that is as far as we'll get tonight. On Thursday, we'll finish up creating this. I will also post the video that I recorded So if anybody needs to catch up,
Yeah.
and if anything is super broken, then I can just share the code with you on Thursday as well. Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Feel better.
Thanks, guys.
Look better.
Bye, talking circles. See.
I would
Oh,
say
yeah.
silent and stuff. That's what we choose. I really laughed every time.
What?
I said, safe driving, especially you shoes.
Thank
I really laughed every time.
Yes, thank
Yes.
you.
All right.
Got a question before you go.
Nah.
What's up?